As you will be aware, the government has proposed to legislate the carbon farming initiative this year. The initiative is an offset crediting scheme, which will set out what farmers, foresters, other land managers have to do to generate offset credit for sale in carbon markets. The initiative is very important and timely. But let's be sure, the initiative on its own will not guarantee markets for Australian offset credits. For the initiative to be very impactful, some of the policy and market challenges and opportunities need to be understood and addressed. In my presentation today, I would like to talk a few of these challenges and opportunities. I would like to talk about the key factors that will affect the supply of Australian offsets. I would also suggest currently with the policy settings, there seems to be insufficient demand for Australian offsets. But let me first give a brief overview of Australia's emission profile. A quick perspective. In 2008, the agriculture sector accounted for about 16% of Australia's greenhouse gas emissions, excluding emissions from land use change, and forestry. In the same year, livestock sectors accounted for about 3/4 of agricultural emissions. Cropping accounted for about 12%, and prescribed burning of savannas about 16% of agricultural emissions. So we see agriculture's total contribution to Australia's national greenhouse inventory is non-trivial. The sector can play an important role in contributing to Australia's greenhouse gas mitigation efforts, and there are options to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or increase sequestration across the landscape. Let us now look at some of the key challenges and opportunities on the supply side of Australian agriculture offsets. For a project to generate credits under the carbon farming initiative, it must meet certain standards and tests. Additionality test of the carbon farming initiative is of particular importance. The initiative and the additionality test of the initiative ensures that the emission reduction or sequestration would not have occurred in the normal course of business. That is, the test ensures that the proposed emission reduction or sequestration under a particular project, offset project, should be real. But there are practical challenges for assessing additionality. For instance, additionality assessment requires setting an appropriate baselines for an offset project. Setting baselines is very important, and it requires a comprehensive understanding of existing and potential technologies and farm management practices. And this could be a formidable challenge because farm practices tend to differ across landscape, across activities, and over time. For example, livestock emissions differ across breed, regions, and feed, intensive versus extensive farming, management practices such as cell or rotational grazing. A number of international offset markets and standards are considering utilizing some standardized approaches to setting baseline. This is to reduce uncertainties and encourage uptake of agriculture offset projects. Again, establishing standardized approaches or baselines requires robust information on production systems and management practices, and both at spatial and temporal scales. And this needs to be supported by extensive data gathering and regular updates. Another practical issue with additionality test is how to deal with co-benefits, and particularly productivity or yield benefits. For example, Providing highly digestible or low-fiber feed to animals can help increase animal productivity while reducing methane emissions per unit of output. With increases in productivity, sometimes it may be difficult for farmers to provide that the emission-reducing practices would not have been adopted in the absence of carbon farming initiative, and consequently may not meet additionality test. However, one might argue that just because there are productivity gains with particular technology or practices will not guarantee their uptake by farmers. Despite productivity gains, farmers may have to overcome some formidable economic or non-market barriers to adopting particular technology and practice changes. Issues and challenges like these need to be understood and addressed. The Austrian government is currently seeking stakeholder feedback on streamlining additionality assessment. Participation in carbon farming initiative is voluntary, as you know. However, an offset proponent has to go through a sequence of steps in order to participate in carbon markets. Some potential steps are outlined here, and there are costs associated with these steps. Some of this cost could be one-off, others could be ongoing. Determination of transaction cost for a project proponent at this stage would be rather speculative. This is because issues around who pays for what are yet to be worked out, and the Austrian government is developing some offset methodologies with stakeholders which will be available for project proponents for adoption. However, it's expected that most of other costs will be borne by project developers. Most agricultural offset projects in Australia, including some sequestration potential projects, are likely to be small scale. The associated transaction cost and administrative cost could be a possible deterrent for majority of farmers for opting in the carbon farming initiative. This, however, presents an opportunity to aggregators who can pool carbon offset projects. Aggregators can play an important role in easing a scale problem arising from low emissions per farm or high transaction costs associated with participating in the carbon farming initiative. The New South Wales and ACT greenhouse gas reduction scheme allowed sequestration pool managers to do the aggregators' role. The proposed carbon farming initiative also allows project aggregators to pool carbon offset. However, a 100-year permanence requirement for sequestration offset activities may be an issue for aggregators as well as farmers and land managers. Uncertainty is a fact of life. Uncertainty around agricultural offsets can arise from complex biological processes, natural disturbances and variability, emergence of new scientific evidence on sequestration and emission reduction, policy and market uncertainties, among other things. Various approaches and institutional innovations have been proposed in recent years to deal with these uncertainties. I've already discussed the role of aggregator, a tested marketing innovation. One particular issue for generating carbon farming initiative credits is the potentially significant time lag between the upfront cost that project proponents has to incur and farmers and land managers have to incur to undertake management practice changes, and the returns they can expect from the sale of offset credits. This may discourage uptake of agricultural offset projects. A contract designed with two-part payments can address this issue to some extent. An upfront payment to assist project proponents, landholders, and farmers investing in emission abating technologies before the credits are delivered, accompanied by ongoing payments on the delivery of offsets.